The Big Thunder Mountain Railroad refurbishment is going on at Walt Disney World, and we know that is going to last, until 2026 or so, and that's already well underway with a partial track replacement. And, Blog Mickey noticed something very, very interesting. Here from Blog Mickey, Big Thunder Mountain refurbishment update. New vehicle barn, most track installed, failed envelope testing. It's that latter that we want to go ahead and take a look at here, this June 10th, 2025. It's been a little while since we checked in on the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad refurbishment project, so we made it out to Magic Kingdom recently for a sort of mega update on the project to reset what has been done and where we're at. In short, the project appears to be progressing nicely, but there are still some hurdles to clear before we start seeing runaway mine cars barreling through the mountain once again, and that being the envelope test, which I'm going to go ahead and throw it to culture right after I read this remark right here. Speaking of the envelope test device, we can see that it is currently stuck in a portion of the track where there is not enough clearance. Like many of the old school roller coasters, I'm looking at you, Space Mountain, there are opportunities for guests with impressive wingspans to touch the facade at Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It'll be interesting to see if Disney chisels away at the facade here and where the envelope test device is very obviously coming into contact with the mountain and likely failing the test. Now, Culture, could you explain to our audience real quickly what an envelope test is and why Disney should be a little bit concerned about those?
Well, the envelope is referring to the guest envelope, the area with which needs to be cleaved from anywhere that a guest could possibly reach. There are a few places where this is impossible. I'll give you an example. I watched somebody break their arm in front of me on Space Mountain. Because they were coming into the loading dock. Unloading dock, and they had their arm out and they hit the loading dock. There's no way to, that's an unpreventable accident. But otherwise, there's an envelope, a series, a grid series, usually made up of bits of aluminum that are tied together and such. I imagine Neen Payne may have viewed these, or a few other of our Disney folks out there. But it travels through the entire attraction to make sure that you can't get hurt. That, if somebody gets a little extra airtime from their seat on a coaster, they're not going to hit the top of their head or take their head off or anything super fun like that. So these things are very carefully planned. So even when you're on Big Thunder, especially during that little bit of air time that's supposed to make you think you're about to smash your head on that beam, there's still plenty of clearance up there. Even a 6'9" person with their arms extended couldn't hit it. Those are the types of things. So a visual effect is only effective if people aren't going to get injured. So usually there's a thing wrapped around. They do it from multiple positions to make sure that nobody can absolutely positively not get hurt. So those envelopes protect people, and they're one of the safety features that I think Disney really pioneered, and they learned an awful lot with Matterhorn at the very beginning. And that's one of the places where you actually saw them like coming up with these envelopes because of how they were placing these rock facades so close to the guests. So that one right there, there's not a lot of envelope clearance for that 1959 coaster, the first tubular steel roller coaster out there, where Bob Gurr had to famously teach himself trigonometry, and it felt like it. But you can see right here that we've seen multiple ways of doing these envelope tests before. This video by Kevin Yee, I believe. There you go. Yeah.
Shows the
seven Dwarves Mine Train. Yeah, and those little sticks. you want all those little sticks to not be broken when you go around this thing.
Correct. And if they are broken, you just go, "Hey, one broke off," and you just follow the track, and you see where it was actually broken off. You can see right here, they're actually currently doing the envelope test for Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift over there in Hollywood. You can see a much different apparatus that I believe Intamin may have used for this. Now, what's interesting here is that the fact that Big Thunder has to do an envelope test at all, and that's because of, I think, two reasons. One, they have modified the track so much in such a way that the grandfathered-in nature of this attraction no longer applies to it. So, like the Matterhorn, for instance, they can never ever redo that track because of those envelope protection standards having to be updated and changed because you've modified the ride to such an extent. Apparently, that might have been what Montezuma's Revenge over there at Knott's Berry Farm might have encountered, where the contractor who was actually doing the work may have removed just a little bit too much of that coaster, and now it lost its grandfathered in status, which is very unfortunate. It may be why that attraction is still... I mean, nothing's really being done to it. With this, well, I think it was Erica from Erica and Raph who was on 23PL Live, and we were talking about this, and she was pointing out that the mounting points might have actually changed on with the track itself, and so that may have put it in an area in which it doesn't actually pass its envelope protection tests right there. Also, too, remember when Disney lost that RCID status? Well, now they're subject to the state guidelines. So those might have been updated, and well, now this attraction needs to reflect that as well. I'm guessing the envelope standards have expanded since 1980, when this attraction actually opened at Walt Disney World, thereabouts. But it's well, if you're hoping that Big Thunder Mountain Railroad will be the same Big Thunder Mountain Railroad that every one of us has gone on for 45 years now. Whoa. That's crazy. Well, think again, folks. They might just have to be updating this attraction in order to make it, safe to ride today according to modern safety standards. It's a very interesting thing. Culture, what do you think they're going to have to do in this situation? I'm guessing they're going to have to knock out some of that artwork.
Yeah, they are. And look, it's for the best. Sorry, I hate to say it. A lot of things in safety standards change over times. We have freak accidents that outline another vulnerability and things like that. We've seen what the results of that can be, especially if brakes and other things are not installed in the right locations. But this, look, if you're going to be doing this, do it right. Make it as safe as possible for the guests. Update some of the rock work so that maybe it's even more interesting than it was originally. That was the one fault that I thought that the Florida version of Big Thunder Mountain suffered from, was that some of the rock work was really bland in multiple locations. It never really did have the same kind of intricacy that the Disneyland version does. But I think at the same time, it's not going to hurt anything structurally. All the coaster structure and everything is built off of the steel framework, and then everything from that's just taking out rebar and just reshaping things. It's not that big a deal. But I appreciate that they have to go back and do this, because they are making such an extensive shift, and I'm all for it. I mean, outside of redesigning the ride vehicles, which would be the other step to try to solve some of that problem, I would prefer them just make it safer so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're seeing the same comment right here. Ash. Or they could remove all the riders' arms before they get on. Yeah, exactly.
There you go, Ash.
There you go.
I will say, though, there are some coaster manufacturers and now theme park proprietors who are actually saying on some coasters, hey, look, you got to have all your limbs. You can't have any prosthetics or
that's how the safety devices operate. Yeah, no, in fact, there are places, there are some coasters that, even though they don't make ADA rules, they can certainly restrict you because you don't have all your limbs, because the way the restraint systems are designed to hold you in there, that is for real. So, and again, I'm one of those people that experienced a near accident, because back in the days for DCA, I was riding on a launch system called the Big Shot. You remember that, Vash? And the center seatbelt thing came undone. Oh, it wasn't properly locked in place, even though it was checked and everything was lifted up. When it went up the first time, and of course the shoulder bar restraint that holds you in, it kind of jumped up because my weight went to it when it started to fall. The buckle between my legs slipped. I was riding with a family member and I pointed down. I'm like, that's not good. Fortunately, the restraint system itself was fine and locked in, but that extra little safety element fell apart.
I'd be worried about getting whacked the entire time,
I told the ride operator that what had happened and what it was, and I said, you may want to have engineering look at this before anybody sits in the seat again. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, no, it's just freak things happen. That's the other problem is you can't. That's why a lot of these restraint systems have multiple different levels of safety, and and it's the same reason why I'm all for this happening. And again, I am guilty of going on too many attractions. That's probably true in my lifetime. So I was always playing with danger, but
as crazy as it is, I mean, I've for example, like Cedar Fair. They're merged with Six Flags now, but Cedar Fair back in the day, in order to reduce their insurance costs, they actually abided by a kind of international standard for coasters, in which even if you have a lap bar, you have to have like a seatbelt with it kind of thing. And so we saw retrofits to many classic attractions, not so very farm actually, because of those kind of international standards that they were trying to abide by. It's a fascinating concept. It's really particular, and I just think it is very interesting. I don't think necessarily that any one thing regarding this envelope test, as long as it's just rock work, will delay the opening of this attraction any further in 2026. But if it does, just know we'll be there.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.